I don't even read the papers. I read USA Today because it has color photos. This is the typical opening for Jimmy Fallon as he approaches the audience every night. On the other hand, Larry King would say something very serious like, those who have succeeded at anything, and don't mention luck, are kidding themselves. The contrast in their styles is like night and day. Every talk show host has their own communication style while effectively delivering the content of the program to captivate the viewer, while personal, nonverbal communication differences accentuates the personality of the host. The nonverbal component of Jimmy Fallon is electric. Fallon is entertaining in himself to the audience. Larry King's nonverbal component is like watching paint dry. With closer observation, Larry King and Jimmy Fallon's facial expressions, body movements, voice patterns reveal personal nonverbal communication characteristics, proving the differing behaviors of communicative value. Larry King's voice patterns are very subtle, dull, and monotone. King has little facial expressions outside of the occasional smile or smirk. The eyes are cold and calculated. He makes direct eye contact with his guest, but his eyes are unexpressive. He has intent gaze at whoever is talking, if to signal with a gaze window as an attentive person. On the other hand, Jimmy Fallon is a total antithesis of Larry King. Fallon is animated. Facial expressions, body movement, voice patterns, or an entertaining extension of his vibrant personality. Fallon's voice patterns indicate excitement, disappointment, and confusion with the volume of variations of tone and pitch. His facial expressions tell his approval, disapproval, shock, surprise, and happiness. His eyes will get wide when he's surprised, and his mouth will frown in disapproval or open wide with shock. Likewise, Fallon's body movements highlight the conversation. Fallon will rock back and forth with a full body laugh and his hands flailing around. Larry King's show, titled Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, Heavyweight Boxing Legends, with joining Larry King. In this, when King folds his arms in front of him on his desk and leans forward, he non-verbally expresses to Mike Tyson that he has his undivided attention. In contrast, Fallon sits behind a desk every night, and Jimmy Fallon's verbal exchange with a guest, Nicole Kidman, for example, Fallon would shrug his shoulders to non-verbally express his uncertainty. Fallon throws his entire body back in his chair if to retreat from pushing the point, and then leans forward to attempt more engagement. He will gently smile, and he will have a soft, low voice to indicate that he is relaxed and confident, but then he will move his hands in various ways to display that he is nervous. He will shake his head, his voice will crack, and he will giggle like a little boy, indicating an attempt to be normal. If Fallon is surprised by the subject matter from his guest, he will turn his head to the left to indicate that he is unsure of how to react. Sometimes he will become more animated with more hand gestures and glares towards the audience. When he is embarrassed, Fallon covers his face with his hands. When Fallon slaps his hands down on the desk, Fallon is attempting to control the direction of the interview, often raising his voice, making direct eye contact to dominate. Frankly, Jimmy Fallon's nonverbal communication is radiating beacon in almost every thought in his head. Converse of Larry King. So in conclusion, my first point is nonverbal communication is always occurring. Theorists suggest that all behavior communicates and it is impossible for people to not communicate. When you look at each talk show host, their nonverbal communication is one, often unconscious, like Fallon when his eyes get wide and his mouth opens wide with surprise, or ambiguous, like King when he folds his arms and leans into the guest as the guest is answering a question. When he leans into the guest, one may think that he is fascinated by the response, or may think he is judging an arrogant realm of superiority. When you compare Larry King and Jimmy Fallon against each other, striking differences are evident. Larry King is very subdued and with nonverbal communication characteristics that are restrained to put all emphasis on the person being interviewed. In contrast, Fallon's nonverbal communication becomes so transparent that it becomes as entertaining as the guest being interviewed. The two talk show hosts exhibit different facial expressions, body movements, and voice patterns. Yet each nonverbal communication is integral and ingredient to the personal, intentional, unintentional stimuli. But there is always some form of communication. Therefore, nonverbal communication is fundamental in the release of our human unconsciousness to communicate. Thank you.